Record. Turn up the volume. Turn down the volume some. Okay. Hey guys, this is Kathy with JLB, Journal Through Life from Beginning. Today we are going to discuss how I'm going to go about doing a 10 generational book. This is a little bit daunting for me to say the least, but I've been sitting here today getting the 10 generations is going to include from my grandson Zachary James all the way up until 10 generations from him. So when I do my genealogy, I am the first generation in my book so that I know I am the home person. Me and Tim are the home people together. So then we branch out all four families backwards. So what I want to do is it'll actually be the seventh generation back from me plus the three, which is Jenny, Ebony, and Kari, and their respective sisters, brothers, whatever. So today we're going to work on printing off a lot of paper that I'm going to then put into a notebook. It's going to be my notes book, not notebook, my notes book. So then that way I have their birth dates, their death dates, their marriage dates, their everything, because my book that I'm going to hopefully get Chrissy to help me to work on, like she's got any time, but if she can give me an outline is to follow in a direction of doing it, because she has wrote several papers and books and stuff. So she would be able to help me at that. What I'm hoping to do is to do a book in reference to what they would have in their time frame, be talking around about the dinner table, how their families met. All of it's going to be supposition on my part because I was not there. I do not know. But if they lived in the same general area, then you could pretty much say they may have went to church together, or they may have went to school together, or, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is where I'm at now. I'm in the beginning stages of getting my act together. Now, I can go back a whole lot more generations than 7 in my family history, a whole lot more. However, I have to have a stopping point sometime, or I'm going to get so overwhelmed, as everybody else does, in trying to figure it out. So my goal is to, before I pass, to be able to have a book that somebody can have on their shelf. It don't have to be one that sells 1 million copies. Ain't nobody going to know what happens in Kathy and Lane Johnson Kincaid's lifetime. However, it would be a book that you could just read like any normal book. You're in a city that has 2 parents that have kids that are now getting married to have kids of their own. So as it comes from the multi-different generation people to down to me and Timmy, you'll be able to transfer that line all the way down to where we were born, where we met at, where we got married at, where, all the stuff that you talk about around the dinner table. Back in the day, for any of you new people that are watching this, probably where you eat your dinner at is like I do mine now, on the couch. Very few people sit around the table, but if you do ever sit around the table, put your electronic devices up. It's a suggestion, not something you have to do, but it would make so much more sense if people would talk to each other. I don't think we'd be near as divided as we are now. And if you have a spat, you know that that's a spat. You know that you got to figure out which way somebody going to compromise, somebody going to be stern about it, or are you going to have a learned lesson from it? So how many times, my people, everybody's people, have lived through all the wars that has come before us. that has been there, done that. But when they were sitting around their dinner table, they may be talking about who's getting married, who's having kids. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the premise of my book. But in order to get to that, I have to have a baseline information page that gives me the dates so that I can do research on those particular dates in a span of, say, they were born in 1801 and they died in 1841. What happened in those 40 years? What went on in the world around them? Now, not what we know today, because we can tell you what happened in Istanbul in 5 minutes after it happened, but they didn't know it then. How long would it took information to get from? They'd have to write a letter or they have to read it in a newspaper. Newspapers were not automatic, like you put it in the computer, print it out, and send it on about its way. No, it was not. That did not happen. I'm reading a book currently, an autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, and he was a printer. He even, when I was reading it just the other day, he would make his own little typeset so that you had to put each little letter in to be able to make a whole page of something. Can you imagine how many of those little typeset letters they had? But that was even before the typewriter was invented to where it would make sense, because you had to print newspapers. Okay, a sheet of paper didn't fit in a typewriter like they needed for their newspaper. So it is interesting. History has always been a fascination of mine. So I want to tell my stories, my family history stories, in conjunction with the world's history stories at the same time. What was it like to come across the ocean on that boat that took many months to get from wherever they were at to where they're at now? I mean, to me, it would be fascinating. So I don't know if anybody will read it. I don't know, but I'm doing it for me. Me. So we're going to start today in our family tree. I'm going to pause you for a minute and go put me lots of paper in my computer, in my printer, so that I can print this off. Then I have some little notebooks right now because I was thinking that's not going to take very many papers, and it won't. Like generation 1 through +3 is only going to be me and Tim, our girls, blah, 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 and on. It might include some of their cousins. It might, I'm not sure. For the purposes of the book, it's going to be a straight line genealogy. How did XYZ meet and have QRT and whatever? Yeah. It's just going to be that type of book. If you want to know about brothers, sisters, cousins, you can always email me at journalthroughLifeFromBeginning@gmail.com with a specific question. And if I know the answer, or I can tell you where you might find that answer, I am more than happy to do that. I appreciate each and every one of you, even though you're a few that watch. I would love for you to share this with any other member in the family that might be interested in something, because as I pull these pages up to print them out, I'm going to go over them and research them back in the history and make sure the information that I have good. So it's going to take me a good year just to get the baseline information. Then I'm going to in that year, I'm going to have Chrissy to give me an outline of how she thinks it would be good to put together. Then I have to do the research in the actual history, stuff that was going on. When were the days of the years of the Civil War? When were the Revolutionary? How many years did it go on? What was the highlights? What would somebody have been talking about around their dinner table that they heard scuttlebutt go through the country? How much was they told that was truthful? And how is it different from today that you really don't know who you can take an honest word from? Who knows? But if I can put it into a book to where it makes good reading, That will be my goal from now until the time that the good Lord calls me back. So let's get started. I'm going to put you on pause, put that paper in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to share our screen, just like always. Okay, we're going to minimize this part because I don't need it. We're going to bring up the family history. And I'm going to do the immediate first line up is the Kincaid family. So we're going to go back here. Right here, if you're ever looking at this, this is the home button, which I am the home person because I am the one working on this. So that makes me the person that it's going to come up to, just like that. So I'm going to be working on Tim's side first. So we're going to bring up Tim. Actually, we're going to go back to, let's move me down here where I'm out of the way. We're going to go back to the thing I have, in case you're wondering what I'm looking at. This is a line of the first through the 10th, 10 generations, starting with what I call the +3, +2, +1, 1, and then on up to 7. So actually from me, I'm going back 7 or 6 more generations from what I am, but from Kari, it'll be the full 10 generations. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to William Kincaid. Are you wanting in? Okay, so we're going to bring up William. Okay, go to tree. William Kincaid and Mary Ann Tincher. And yep, and John Kincaid. So since I don't have a lot more information about him, I am going to do web search. This is just, they're going to search ancestry.com. May have to make me sign in. If they do, I'll have to. Nope, it's going to come up. So he was married to a Mary Tincher. So that is not the one. See, that's what you got to look for. Got to make sure that what you're looking for is the one. He was born in 1781. Your information's down here. Here we go. William Tincher. They were married. See, I didn't have their marriage date. So let's bring this up. And now we're going to put into details. This is all their information. They were married in Greenbrier County. Awesome. And since we want to merge it, we're going to merge this name. And now we're going to merge the fact in. Close that up. Give it a second. Now we have, he married her on May the 18th, 1802 in Greenbrier County. So now that information is in, let's go back to see that. So now when you bring this up, you're going to see they were married 18 and it's in Greenbrier. So that basically ends up putting your information in there. So let's go back to the web search and see, go back here, see if there's any other information about this William Tincher. William Kincaid. And see, there's not. So we're good there. Let's go into the family tree section. And see here now with this Aguilar family tree, we have them and things are, so let's just check this out. Okay, so now we have he had a daughter named Mary Ann, which we do not have. So this John Kincaid now has a sister. Let's merge that in. Next, merge. Next. Well, it says it's in there, but I don't have it. Oh, that's the spouse. Yes, we do. We have that. Okay. This is the one we need to add. Mary Ann Kincaid. So now John has a sister. I just would like to have as full information as what I can. So now we have her added in there. So let's go back and see if there's any other, because this Mary Ann, this child, comes down to a different line than what Timmy does, but she's still a sister of one of his grandfathers down the line. Okay. Okay, so now we can go into Jacob's tree because I don't have his parents. It has him born in 1863 and died in, so this is not the one that I want. No. Okay, so see, that one's not the one that I want. That's why you have to double check the information. Okay, let's see if this one is the one I want. Although the birth date is different, the death date is the same. I think this might be somebody different. So we're not going to bring that one into the family either because I don't want information to mess with what I have already. Okay. All right. So now that we know that that is good, we're going to go back to people. That's all the information that they have on William Kincaid. So now we're going to go to publish and we're going to go to let's see what's going to be the best. Family group sheet. That's what we want. Okay, we're going to create this report. And see, I don't have any pictures of them, but this gives me all the information with both kids. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to print this. And it's going to go to my Epson. So where we go and print. So now we have our very first document on the Kincaids that brings down John Kincaid. So that would be our 7th generation. Let me get the paper. Now, see, there's how it prints out. Now, what I want to do on this paper, there it is. Where'd my pen go? Is I'm going to mark in the top left corner, sorry, top right corner, the 7th generation. And that way, I will know that this particular page goes in my 7th generational file. It is under the Kincaid, okay? So we can do that. With the Mary Ann Tincher, it has her birth and death date. It does not have her father and mother, and it does not have his father and mother. So those are things that I will have to look this up to see as we go back after I get this book done. I want to continue backwards with the paperwork, not necessarily a book, just the paperwork, so that somebody can see how it comes down. I have colors down here. Kincaid is represented by red. Bryant's is by orange. Tony is light blue. Holiday is purple. On my side, Johnson is green. Wilson is yellow. Hankins is dark blue. And McCutcheon is pink. So as I chase down the family from one to the other, I will try to find highlighters that makes that particular color. So I will highlight the person that is a direct line descendant from me or Timmy. So that when you're going through, say this Kincaid, you would know because it would be highlighted in a red color, which would be a darker than the pink, a red color, then you would know that that is a direct line Kincaid ancestor or descendant, whichever way it goes. All right, so now we got our first page done. Now we're going to go on to the next one down is, of course, the John A. Kincaid. So all you have to do from here is to highlight this one, or you're better off to do this one, which brings him up. You can see that he is now the one that's in here. So we have all these kids listed under him, all the death dates. He married a Cynthia Vance. So you've got all that information on it. You got her parents going back, his parents going back. So now what we need to do, because see these parents, I did not do Cynthia. Did I? Did I do Vance? Yes, I did. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to go to this one now because I did do him. He is in the 10th generation back from Kari. So we need to, he has his information in, that one in, but we're going to do a really quick web search. Let's go back, get out of this so that we can bring up Vance and search. And Abner Vance married Susanna Howard. So that is them. We can go into the Vance family tree. So you pretty much know that that's okay. And his name is Abner Alexander. This must be the cemetery he's buried in. So that is cool. Let's see. Birth 1760. Let's go down to his death. We don't have his death date. So yeah, it is right there. And that's it. So this is the one we can now merge in. We want to change it to Abner Alexander for his name. All that's the same. So we're good there. So scroll down. Yep. Next. And we can put, now we can put his parents in. So we can say that Abner goes forward. We won't put his parents in the book yet, but we do need to add them to the list of that's an interesting name for a lady. Okay, and Susanna Howard, we can merge. We'll put her full name, Susanna Ann Allen Howard. So this might mean she was an Allen and married a Howard. So we'll have to look into that. Gives us some more information to be doing. Since this is not the same name as this is a new sister. So we'll add her and add Rhoda and add Minerva and add Elijah. I'm looking for, anyway, we'll add Rebecca, James Howard, Elizabeth Nancy, and Nancy Vance, Flora Nancy. Okay. And we'll skip over these no names because we do not need them in there. Okay, so we're adding all this stuff in. And now we have this all filled in. Okay, so now we will go back to people. And now see, we have all of this stuff filled in. And this is ours. You can tell this is the one that goes down because it has this little filled in thing. If it's filled in with yellow, then it probably is my direct ancestors, but this is telling you that there's family that goes down and down and down. So now that we are at Abner, we need to print him off. Okay, so we're going to go back up to publish and go into, let's go back up. That drop down menu comes down every time I don't want it to. Okay, so we have a thing for Abner Vance. One, Susanna Howard, and all the kids. So this one would be highlighted in red because she comes down on the Kincaid side. So now we want to print this one off. I won't keep getting everyone out of the printer, but I'll finish that off camera. I'm going to bring you all along for the first, I don't know, 7 or 8 that we're going to do. And then I will finish the rest of them offline and come back and next week and show you where we're at and how the book is coming together and what notes I've been able to figure out. And like on this page right here for William Kincaid, we know that he lived from 1781 to 1860. So he was born after the Revolutionary War started. Doesn't mean it was ended yet, but that's when he was born after it was started. And he died just before the Civil War started. So other than the War of 1812, which I don't have a whole lot of information on yet, other than to know that there was one, he may or may not have been in that conflict. Probably not, because I think it was, I don't know where it was at, but we'll see whether or not there was a time that he ever had to serve in the military, or whether he was a farmer, whether he was a businessman, might have been a blacksmith. This particular piece of paper doesn't tell you, but there are records that can tell you what is a good possibility of how they made their money. Now, back in the day, they didn't make money as easily as what we make it today. Everybody that lives in the United States of America and pretty much around the world do not know how well they have it. So I'm hoping that this book will give them an idea. I watched a show yesterday on how hard it was to go from St. Louis, Missouri, along the Oregon Trail to get to Oregon using horse and buggy or covered wagons. And even though I have known that in the back of my head, that particular video gave me a lot of insight into how to go about telling my story about people from their time frame and their perspective, so that the kids today can realize everything wasn't always what it is now. You couldn't go to a grocery store as quickly as what you do now. You couldn't go out to get fast food. You couldn't have fast food delivered to your house. They would have laughed you off the planet if you'd have called somebody and says, I want to have a cheeseburger. Really? So, as an American, I feel like people have fell short in the history department teaching kids what actual history was like. Um, Even in my lifetime, things have changed so much. But even before I was born, my granddaddy Wilson built my grandma Wilson a log cabin. The only thing he had to use was a buck saw or a some kind of regular saw, no motorized saw, a horse and a buggy to lift the logs up high enough to be able to get them into the spot where they needed to be so that he could finish the house. People that do construction today just think, it's going to be delivered on a truck and I'm going to pound it together or screw it together and I'm done. The house is fixed. That is not how it was back in the day. And I think in order for us to understand today, for kids to understand today, what was like in the yesteryears, you have to bring those yesteryears to life to have them to show an appreciation, maybe not for what their ancestors went through to get them to the point they're at today, but what they have today that makes them a unique generation, and to quit squandering it away. Enjoy it. Enjoy what you have. Don't be complaining because you don't have the next candy bar sitting in front of you. Just enjoy the fact that you have food on the table, that you can go to your refrigerator and get you a cup of ice if you want it. And you didn't have to have ice in your refrigerator back in the day that kept your food cold. And if your ice melted away and you didn't have any more, you better either be eating that food up real quick or you're going to be feeding it to the chickens, which the chickens would have been happy. But we are way too wasteful as a society, and I am including myself in that. So we need to try to work on getting back into appreciating what we have and quit hollering for the next brightest and prettiest and shiniest thing on the hill. Because when they take it away from you, and if you're not really careful, they can do that in probably, hopefully not before my lifetime's over with, but before your lifetime is over with for sure. You're going to sit back and say, whoa, what happened? Don't be that person. Okay, now, since we got that one done, we're going to go back to people. And now we're going to go to John Kincaid because we now have the 2 generations, the 10 generations. We've got those done. So I'm going to make me a little check mark in the ones that I have gotten done already, so I don't go back and try to do them again. And now we're going to bring up John Kincaid, traveling back down in history. Remember, we're starting at the 1781 point for John and the 1760 point for Alexander. So his kids, he must have married late in life, 1826. So he was what, 66 years old when all these kids were born? Well, no, he must have had a wife. See, that's where you have to worry about it, because he didn't get married until 1826, according to this. Now, this just makes no sense to me, because it's saying right here, and this is where I just pulled this off of, that he got married in 1826, but he died in 1819. Now, you tell me how that's possible. One or t'other is not right. So let's go back to see. This is why I'm doing this, is because that is not correct. Where did I find that information at? Okay, so where did they get married? He married, doesn't tell you who he married. And he married here in 1813. So he was actually married several times. But it does say he died. And then this is the one that they kept as the birth. Holy moly. So he was actually married in 17. So that is our key thing. So I'm going to go back to people and I'm going to take off the marriage simply because that cannot be. He did have kids from 1896 or 1796 up to 1815. So somewhere in that point, the 1796 was the earliest. So evidently he was married right at that time. He would still been 36 years old. So we have to do some more research as to see when he actually married Susan Ann Allen Howard. So she possibly could have had kids and been married first to a Howard. These are things that I need to find out because they would be the interesting part in the book. So I'm going to make me a mental note or a little written note to check on this one more because there's other sites I can check, but definitely the 1826 wedding date is incorrect because he died in 1819, so he could not have been married in 1826. So why that pulled that over, I don't know, but we'll find out. But that's the one I'll check on. Okay, so now we're going to go back to John Kincaid. Okay. And let's see, we have all this information in about them. So that is pretty much cool. So we will go to publish. John Kincaid's coming up, all that stuff. Lucy doesn't have a birth date on her, but we'll look up to see if she's even included. Okay, so now we are going to go to print, and this will now become the 6th generation. So we will mark him as being done. And like I said, I will highlight the John Kincaid and Athena Cena. I would say it's Athena, Cynthia Vance, and they just called her Cena. Now, that is probably what I will put in the book because all of the book will be my summation of all the information that I have found. If you happen to see something that I'm talking about and you have more knowledge than what I do, by all means, again, send it to journalthroughlifefrombeginning@gmail.com and I will try my best to verify everything and put it back in there. But as of right now, this is the information that I have. So let me get this paper. And now, because I have here, I will put the 7th generation on him. That's his nice little sheet. So that makes the 2 Kincaid 7th generations. And this is the 6th, which now ties in, you can see it on here, which now ties in the Kincaids William Kincaid and Abner Vance's two kids into the same paper. So now those two would both go into the Kincaid side of the family in the sixth generation, which brings it down. Now, we're going to go back to people, not places, people. And under John Kincaid, we are going to go find Simon Wyatt Kincaid because he's the next one in line. Okay, so we have pretty much everything that's in there about them. Caroline has parents, so we know we have her information. So if Caroline has parents in the sixth generation, which they'll come in later because I have them all wrote down here, so we'll bring them back in. And if you look here, when you highlight that, this is descendants of William Kincaid, and currently I have 106 people in as descendants of William Kincaid. William Kincaid is the first one in line. I don't have anything farther back from him, so the seventh generation is as far back from that particular one as I can go. So we're going to go back up to publish. Man, that thing is so touchy. And it'll change for me to Simon White Kincaid Sr. So there's obviously a junior somewhere. They don't have it on there though. So we'll have to do some research into that. See, by putting this out on a sheet of paper, that wherever I'm sitting at, I can look at and make my notes of what information that I am lacking and what information that I would like to include in my book that's not here. Like this one was born in 1828 and died in 1915. So he would have been through both the Civil War and at least, I'm thinking, the World War One. So maybe some of his kids had to go into service. We'll find out because they were all right here in West Virginia. So that was a contentious state. Half of us was Union, half of us was Confederate. So I would like to know, do we have a Civil War? Is that what they talked about around the dinner table? Is there kids in the war? Back in the day, women did more of the bandaging and taking care of people that were hurt than they actually did on the front lines like they let them do today, but it's still important. So now we'll go Simon, print him off, and then I will make notes in a separate notebook, not my notebook of notes, a book to take notes in. I know that's confusing me a little bit, but, and that way I can write my questions down as to what I need to know for each particular person and then do that singleized research. I may bring you along for a couple of those research projects. I'm really getting excited about this. I like doing my YouTube channel, and as long as I can continue to do so, I will. But I really enjoy family history. I have always enjoyed family history. And now that I've got the idea to tie family history into regular history to not only bring the people in our family to life, but to bring the circumstances of how people felt or what I think they would have felt back in the day when all this stuff was going on that they were personally living through, that I've not in my lifetime, I've not had to live through. I've had, people in the service that's had to go into war-torn areas, but they weren't right in my back door. So that's a different turn of events when you realize people lived through the Civil War, and he did live through it because he didn't die until 1915. So he did survive the Civil War. And obviously he was married twice because he was 50 years old when he married Mary Rousey. So there are, you can deduce certain things from certain ways of doing stuff. So you really have to um, just print it off so that you have a printed copy that you can set down with a notepad and say, okay, I have this information. This was from XYZ to. So then I can figure out what I want to know. You know, can I find an area to where they actually lived here in West Virginia? Can I go visit that place? Can I go take a picture and put it into the family tree that this is the area to where they lived? I know there's some places in not Nicholas County, Greenbrier County that I've actually been to that you can do that. People that are in the family tree, that the places still exist and still under the same name it was when they were living. Not under the same ownership, but under the same name. So it will be interesting to bring that history to life in the form of my people. What were my people talking about around the dinner table? All right, so let's get Simon's done. Okay. Let me get my water. When I get excited, I get a cough. And I am so totally excited about this. I have spent my years and years and years of doing this, and it's all right here in this brain. And now that I have a destination for it to get out of here and into here, I'm good. Okay, so now we're going to go back to people. So that takes care of Simon. Let's go to Caroline. And since we do have William Leonard Rousey, that would be the 10th. No, that's going to be the 9th generation. So we will go ahead and publish his page. And he too is going to be the 6th generation. That's why I made this cheat sheet for me, because if you just pull all these papers off and you don't have a way of knowing which generation they're in, you're going to be so confused. And Rousey is born in 1828. Cool. And it may be pronounced Rosie. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to print this one off and mark on my sheet that I have his printed off. But y'all was laughing at me with that lid on there, wasn't you? Okay, so we'll go back to people. And now that we have this one, let's see. Yep, I can go back one more to Elizabeth's dad, John Bacchus or Backhouse. I guess it depends on how you pronounce it back in the day. And bring it. That's annoying me, guys. Bring this one up. Okay. Phoebe Johnson. I don't really need that. So let's go back to people and put on here, not her, that one, this one. Take that off to where Take this off. So we just have Phoebe Lee Johnson, Leah Johnson. There we go. That's what I want to put on there. Different people do their things differently so that they can figure out who it is. But I just want her with her maiden name on the printout. So they just have the two kids. Okay, let's print this one out. All right. Let's go back to people. Back to Simon. Bring down John G. And see, all these other names, guys, are all people that's in the family. But I'm not bringing them up because I'm not really going to put them in the book unless something comes up in a storyline that brings in a sister or a brother or something, and then I can give the genealogy of how they fit into the family in the book. But I'm not going to print it out and put that paper, that notes in my thing right now because I don't want to get distracted with all those different pieces of paper. So now we're going to John G. This is Timmy's dad's grandfather. So what he passed away in 1916 in a coal mine accident. And then Elizabeth Bryant remarried again. So they have a whole series of other kids. But the two that was James Ray and Charles Leonard. Charles Lee. So here we go. We have James Ray and Charles Lee. We have James Ray on there. Yeah, right here. These two. Now, I don't know where this one comes in at, so I would have to check that out. That could have been one that um, she wasn't born. See, this one can't even be in there. This has to be this one's kid and not this one's kid. So see that there is, see, that's what I have to have the papers out to see what information does not fit. This James A cannot possibly be John G. Kincaid's. So we're going to have to take that one out, but I'll make note of that when I bring it off to work it out. I'm trying to get down to Timmy so I can show you the line straight down, but my cough is going to get the better of me, so I may not be able to do that. So now we have John A. Oh, I had him. So go back to people. I had him highlighted. Anything that you got highlighted is what it's going to bring up to publish. Okay, John G. This one really doesn't need to be in there. So let's take this one. Go back to people. This one I'm going to delete. Now I'm just going to detach that selected person. I'm going to this is the one I want. That's the one I want to just detach. Okay. He'll still remain in the thing, but he won't be. Yeah. See, now this shows what I know to be right. The other one could not possibly. It must be. It must be that he needs to be attached to um, either Simon White or I'd say Simon White, but I don't know that, so I won't do that yet. But he will be in. There we go. Now we can print this off. Oh my goodness, people, the struggles get real, especially when you haven't had breakfast yet. All right, so there we go. Now we can print it off. That makes better sense. You really have to. That's what happens sometimes when you just merge thing off the internet. You think you're checking all the single solitary facts when you actually miss them. So when you have it where you can look at it, you can slow down long enough to look at it, then you can see that um, that's probably not right. And see, it only brings up the two kids. So, but that's the way I come down is through James, or he comes down is through James Ray. So we're going to leave it at that. So now we're going to go back to people and we're going to go into James Ray. And we have all this information on him. These, I don't have information on their births yet, but we'll get that. That'll be part of the thing that I'm doing notes on. So John, then I can just put the information. Okay, the other ones are this. I see what's happening. It's only giving me the one to the actual thing. If I wanted to have Othene's kids, which is the second lady that he married, I have to go in and make Othene the primary wife, and then her kids come up. Gotcha. I see how this works now. Thank you very much for listening to me so that I can find this out. But right now we're going to, since we're just on down through the Kincaids, we're going to do this. Although Othene married James Ray Kincaid, and she has several kids that are in the family, they're not direct ancestors of Timmy. So right now, that's what I want to do is do the direct line ancestors. And then I will go back in and print out a page of James Ray and Othene Subtle and bring in those kids, which will be interesting. But all right, so now we've got that one. We're going back to people. And we're going to go down for John Shirley because that is Timmy's dad's name. Okay, we've got Simon, we've got John G. and James Ray. And now we have Dad. Publish. And we have all of this. We don't have Timmy's birthday and stuff in there. Let's just see what's going on here. Because I have to make sure that it's in there. Oh, because he's, let's see what this says. This is interesting, people. No, they have Dave's in there. I don't know why they didn't put Timmy's in there. Interesting. Interesting. Because I have his birth date in there. Anywho, we're going to print it out and find out what that is. That's picture of Dad, picture of Danny. You get a picture of Dave, and I think I got a picture of Ellie. Put a picture of Tim in here. Okay, and we'll go back to people. We'll go down to Tim. I don't even have a picture of Timmy in there. Isn't that something? Let's show you how to do that. Add a picture. Oh, I don't know. I can't do that because I don't have my pictures attached, but I will do that. And see, we now have all that. Let's see what his publishes as. And see, so I don't understand why they put, see, they're not putting the birth dates in because they're still here. I don't know why they did David's. I'll figure that out. Anyway, we're ready to print this one. And see, I've got pictures of all my beautiful girls. I don't even have my picture in there. We'll take care of that. That's for the note-taking book versus the notes book. This is the notes book. That's the note-taking. All right, so now we are going to, I'm not going to do it on camera because they're younger. I can do Jenny's. And there's Jenny's, so we can print hers out. And I'll print Ebony's and Kari's off thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back up here because this is information that, let's go up here. Let's just talk a little bit. Now that I've got all this information, I can sit down and see, make sure all my facts are right, make sure that the information is done, do a generalized thing like this of history that I need to find out from certain years and certain things that they might have been talking about, who was born, who was going to have a baby, who was going to get married, stuff that you might just sit around a table and talk about. Maybe this book will encourage people to sit around the table and talk to each other. Again, I emphasize the importance of, if you do sit at the table to eat, don't take your electronic devices don't take your laptop, your iPad, your phone. Sit and talk to either your significant other, whoever that might be, or your kids, or have your kids to ask you questions. And if there are questions that they don't need to have the answers to, be upfront and correct with them and tell them, say, that is stuff that is not quite discussable at this point. When I find further information and can discuss it, I'll be first to let you know that that's what's going on. But we don't want to start rumors. We don't want to start fights. We don't want to tell stories. We don't want to make up something just to say, I told them something. No, be upfront and correct with them and say, that's not something I have 100% information on. So when I do and can share it, I will. And get that particular bond of trust going with your kids, your parents, your brothers and sisters, so that you become the voice of truth. And hopefully that will spread through everything that we do. People are so prone to exaggerating or telling something just to get somebody off their back that they think it's important to do it that way. That's only got us in the trouble that we're in now. So let's hopefully to go back to telling truth stories, or if you can't give the information out, just simply tell them that's not available for me to give out right now because I'm not 100% sure. Or say, according to, so that they can make up their own mind whether that person tells the truth or not. repeat anything as being gospel that you know, unless you're repeating something that's given to you out of the Bible. That's standing the test of time. So anyway, guys, I'm going to quit preaching and I am going to say goodbye. I think this has been a productive session. I don't know about for you guys, but it has been for me. I have been able to bring the Kincaid family from the 7th generation down to the +3 generation in William, John, Simon, John again, James, John again. John is a popular name in the Kincaid family. Tim, Jenny, Abby, and Kari. That is the generational things that we're doing. I'm going to use this as my notes book, not a notebook, the notes book, to then take a jumping off point to do generalized history of something that they may have been talking about in their lifetime. It could be something that's 100% everybody around in that area would have known about, or it could have been something that was just something that happened that didn't have anything to do with their family. They could have been talking about the coal mine accident that just happened. Even though they didn't lose anybody, they may have empathy for the people that did lose something. So we don't know. This is going to be a long work in progress, and hopefully the good Lord gives me that time to do it. But if not, it'll get started and Christy can finish it for me. All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you next Thursday, where we will pick up where we're at and go down another line in the history of lines and get my notes book ready to submit to Christy to give me an outline of what I need to do to be starting to find a reasonable way of telling my story. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.